Creative Tech Podcast. Hi, I'm Kaori Rei, product designer and author. Our mission is to help people in their career and lives by sharing their creative and technology stories. In today's episode, we had an in-person meetup, and then we invited a specialist of DEI, Faustine. She gave us a speech of what is DEI, and let's get started.
Okay, thank you for coming all. How's your day?
It's good.
Yay! Friday!
Friday!
Yeah, happy Friday! So we have some snacks, so help yourself while we give a speech, you can eat and drink and please be relaxed. Yeah, this is not like a very, strict.
I think if you have any questions during the talk as well, don't wait for any kind of Q&A part, just feel free to raise your hand, or if you want to interject at any point or say anything, I think we can have it be a conversation between Ayame and me and also with everyone else.
Okay, let's start.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, my name is Ayame. I'm from Japan and I'm a project manager in communication industry. And can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Faustine. My pronouns are she, her and they, them. I'm originally from France, but I've lived in the UK, which is why I've got this accent, for about 10 years. And I've worked and lived in France, the UK, Germany, and I moved to Japan in January, so I'm very new. I've worked across tech, recruitment and diversity and inclusion for about 8 years now. So I started with tech, then moved into recruitment, and then at that recruitment organisation ended up founding a D&I working group to address some issues that I was seeing in the workplace. At the moment, I'm working for a company called Diversifying Group, which is a British company. We are a DEI services organisation, and our mission is to make equal and equitable workplaces a reality for everyone. So we provide things like recruitment and talent acquisition, consulting, training, events, recruitment advertising, employee branding, lots of services, but everything is to do with D&I. So my current role is Head of Recruitment Marketing and Employee Brand, and I work with our clients to help them attract more diverse candidates to their organizations. So I guess I'm very passionate about diversity and inclusion, both in the workplace and beyond. Mm-hmm. And I'm very nervous, so be nice to me, please. Thank you.
Okay, what is DEI?
Okay, so that's a very big question. So diversity and inclusion, or diversity, equity and inclusion, or diversity, equity, inclusion and belonging, or justice, equity, diversity and inclusion, there's loads of acronyms, loads of ways to say it. And it's a really, really broad topic, and it means different things to different people. But the main focus is really to create change and to create a fairer and more inclusive world, both at work and outside. And there's some basic definitions that we can maybe run through. So the definitions that we use at Diversifying Group are diversity is basically a mix of people of different backgrounds and characteristics. Whereas inclusion is kind of like the next step, which is ensuring that this mix of people are all respected, valued, and that they can bring their whole selves to an organisation. And belonging would be the step after that, which is that feeling of personal acceptance and security and feeling supported that can be produced by having an inclusive culture. There's loads and loads of aspects to diversity. I think we are very complex people as human beings, and you can't really have just one thing. But what we tend to work on as D&I organisations are things like gender, LGBTQIA+, race and ethnicity, disability and neurodiversity, and even things like religion, age, socioeconomic background, education, and even if you're a parent or not, or if you're a carer or have any kind of responsibilities that mean that you need different adjustments at work. And one thing that I think is really important as well is to look at diversity and inclusion with an intersectional lens. So like I was saying, we are very complex human beings, and no one is just one thing. You're not just a woman, you're not just a white person, you're not just a gay person. We all have interconnected aspects that overlap and kind of create like a little grid of systems that then impact how we are perceived in the world and how we are treated in the world. So, for example, a black woman would experience both racism and misogyny, but she will experience it differently than a black man does and differently than a white woman does. So it's about looking at all of these aspects and really making sure that we are treating people like individuals and not just like a little tick box as well, which can be the risk when organizations start their diversity journey.
Great. Okay, so what is the difference between equity and equality?
So that's another thing as well that we come against in D&I work. So equality is a fantastic concept, and it's treating everyone the same way, treating everyone equally, which is amazing and is absolutely needed. When equity becomes important, though, and especially in the workplace, I think, is when you need to take steps to make sure that everyone has access to the same opportunities and outcomes. So you might not be treating everyone the same way, but you're going to be treating them slightly differently to make sure that they can access the same opportunities and the same things. So it's things like offering grants to people who are from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, for example. You can't expect someone who doesn't have access to the same opportunities to achieve the same outcomes if you're not supporting them to do so. So yeah, that's what equity is.
Can you give me some example? Because I think I grew up in Japan. Maybe like I cannot really imagine what people cannot have access, you know?
So, for example, education, university. Caveat, I have lived in the UK for so long and in Japan for literally 4 months, so it might not be relevant to Japan, but in the UK you have this kind of real hierarchy of universities, and people who have gone to like the red brick universities is what they're called. The old universities, which are the ones where the fees are the highest, usually tend to get better jobs, and organizations have stopped doing it now, but we used to get people being like, oh, I just want candidates from this university. And that's where people aren't getting access to them opportunities because of their socioeconomic background. For example, if they can't afford the fees, they can't go to the best university, they can't get the best job.
Okay, thank you. And how important is DEI in our society?
And it's very important. I think there's a few ways that people look at it, especially in the workplace or in a kind of work context. One way that people will look at it is kind of like making the business case for it, which I will do in a second. But to me, the most important thing is just the fairness case, I guess. Like, it's just the right thing to do. I think everyone having access to opportunities and everyone being treated fairly and everyone feeling that they belong in the workplace is just the way that it should be. And it's really hard sometimes when you're working in D&I and you're kind of like butting heads with companies who only care about the bottom line, who only care about kind of the profit that they're making. And they're like, well, why should I hire people from diverse backgrounds? Like, why should I hire more women in my engineering team? And it's like, because you should. Like, I don't really know how to explain this to you in a different way. But there is that business case. And one of the reasons why I think it's so important at work especially is there's been tons of research done, tons of data that shows that diverse teams perform better than non-diverse teams on average, because being open to multiple perspectives and having people from different backgrounds fosters better collaboration between employees and gives you better insight into consumer trends and leads to better problem solving and more innovation. So again, it's kind of a no-brainer, and inclusive environments also help to attract and retain really talented people. So again, it's kind of a no-brainer, I think.
Thank you so much for listening our Creative Tech podcast today. We hope our story to help your career and life. See you soon. Bye bye.